Hey everyone, Michael Anthony here. Van Halen, Chickenfoot, Sammy in the Circle. But anyway, you're listening to the only podcast that is dedicated to breaking down the entire Van Halen catalog one track at a time. And the podcast will rock. Ow!
Hello, baby!
What is up, all you rockers, rockettes, and everything in between? You have joined us for a new edition of And the Podcast Will Rock. Welcome back to the show, everybody. If it's your first time here, hey, welcome. And let me tell you what you've stumbled into. We are the show that dives into the discography and the catalog of one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, Van Halen, and we do it one track at a time. I am your co-host, Mark Kamara, fighting off seasonal allergies that hit me way too late in the season, but I'm doing my best. Corey Morissette, my partner in crime, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's a busy week. I'm going on holidays for a month. Starting next week. So
yes.
It's a real rush this week. And I know my kid has a band concert Wednesday. We usually record on Wednesdays. We had to move it kind of last minute to Tuesday, which thank you very much to yourself and our very special guests who we'll get to for accommodating a Tuesday recording. But all of our lurkers are on YouTube right now. I see Ryan, I see Josh, I see Scott. Good evening, gentlemen. I'm very much looking forward to spinning some great Van Halen here tonight.
Absolutely. I tell you, it's been kind of a week over here as well. And, between, again, the seasonal allergies, which are way too late, or the fact that someone in this household has random bug bites and we cannot figure out the culprit of those. So that's been a journey. But nevertheless, the summer season is upon us. And what that means is it's rock and roll weather time. At least that's how I like to imagine it. But I want to know, Corey, since Canada doesn't seem to really understand seasons, at least that's to my understanding, because it seems like every other week you have another blizzard up there, and I was like, bro, it's May, we're in June now. June's nearly done, and you're having snowstorms. What I want to know though is how one feels about the summer season. I'm going to ask someone we haven't asked before. It's our guest on the show, actually, YouTube extraordinaire Ivan Anderson. Welcome to the show, Ivan. And would you agree that summertime is rock and roll weather?
I would agree. And I really, like, when I imagine the kind of person who would not agree with that, I'm disgusted.
I hear you. Thank you so much for being on the show, Ivan, man. You got Corey's attention with your analysis on Jump. It was a superb video, and we had to have you on the show. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys dug that video. I tried to make that video for like anyone who's like maybe just heard Jump and is familiar with it as like that hit song and like maybe hasn't thought about it deeply. But then for other people who are like obsessed with Van Halen, I wanted to make a video that could also kind of like hold their attention and respect. And it took me a long time to make a video where I was confident that I could like kind of speak to both audiences without leaving anybody feel like, oh, he's not really talking to me. It was a stressful video for me to make, actually. Like, I made a lot of YouTube videos. I think usually it's kind of fun. Like, I don't really get beat out of shape over a YouTube video. That one was difficult for me. I felt enormous pressure to get it right.
Well, when you're tackling the subject of Van Halen, difficulty is imminent. I would assume in any facets. And that's a musician talking who will never sound like Eddie Van Halen, no matter how much I practice, no matter how many more years I have under my belt. It just won't happen because the gods bless that man's fingers with the tones of the heavens, and very few mortals in this plane of existence get to experience such a thing. So I hear you. I understand that video must have been difficult, but the effort shows, I must say.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I cannot recommend that video enough. You can check it out on YouTube at Cyber Attack World. It's called Understanding Jump by Van Halen, and it's a tremendous deep dive into one of their most kind of forgotten, not forgotten in a way, but just kind of disregarded, right? It's the hit. It's the one who hit number one.
Yes, right? That's exactly what I wanted to make the video to address. Like I think at a certain point it got too easy to disregard it and be like, well, yeah, that's the hit. I personally am grateful for like hits that are that huge and that inescapable that I still enjoy listening to. Like there's some hits that you hear so much that you're just like, okay, I never need to hear it again. And yet you still hear it again. I'm always grateful for when there's a hit that like keeps getting rammed down my throat. And I'm like, I'm still okay with this. I consent again to have it rammed down my throat, and so Jump for me is one of those. Like anytime I hear it, I'm just like, yes, I'm okay with this still.
I would agree with that assessment as well. And the forgotten track, Corey, you joke, but based on the poll results when we did Jump for our live show, it certainly seems like people dismiss this track very very quickly, because it didn't even get 90% of a yes, as in What Dreams Are Made Of. And still to this day, I'm baffled by that. But what are you going to do?
I think Jump is like the people who are not diehard Van Halen fans, that's their favorite Van Halen song. Like if you know like 3 Van Halen songs, that's might be your favorite probably. And I think that can lead some Van Halen fans to feel like as fans they should have a different favorite,
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's
fair. That's fair. That's you're probably right on the money on that one for sure. But nevertheless, though, it just you would think with the success of Jump being such a big hit and just being so ingrained into every rock and roll fan's brain at this point, or certainly within the last 30 to 40 years or so, you would think that would just be the automatic, well, yes, of course, that's a thumbs up, of course. But lo and behold, so many people were just like, nope, sick of it, thumbs down. I'm like, wow, well, okay, I can't fault you for that. And if our show was about AC/DC songs, we'd have a similar conversation. It's fine. I love that band, but I get it. You want to talk about songs being rammed down the throat.
So I'm assuming like the AC/DC equivalent of Jump would be You Shook Me All Night Long, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about?
I would say the equivalent of, is You Shook Me, like, is that their biggest hit? I would have imagined.
Right up there. Yeah.
God, I would have thought.
What did you think it was?
At least either Highway to Hell or Back in Black.
Oh, interesting. Not Thunderstruck. Yeah.
No, but I could see the argument being made for Thunderstruck, but I personally would not put that those Jump and Thunderstruck in the same category. However, if a large number of people did, I wouldn't fight against it.
I think that Highway to Hell and Back in Black might be bigger on like classic rock playlists.
Yes.
But I hear You Shook Me All Night Long on non-classic rock playlists. You know what I mean? Like Golden Oldie
That's a good
stations.
point. Yeah.
So. Like Golden Oldie stations will play they'll play that song and then they'll play the Beach Boys or something.
Right. But especially with the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you would think Back in Black would just be tremendously higher on the ratings polls in terms of popularity for AC/DC, just because
that's a good point.
New generation. But nevertheless, we could discuss AC/DC all we want, but this isn't what you came here for. You came for Van Halen. Switching gear. No. That's on me. I went on a tangent. It happens. I used to podcast about it, a ranting, if you will. Corey, what is going on at the Van Halen news desk? Anything interesting?
Oh, let's check it out here. Well, big news for Van Halen News Desk was Brian May and Eddie Van Halen's Starfleet Project is being reissued as a massive CD and vinyl box set. Pretty much it's all here. All of it, Brian May said. Every note they ever played on those 2 days is going to be on that set. So for Eddie Van Halen fans, this was kind of sought after, the entire Starfleet Project. But really the big news for rock fans and Gary Cherone fans was Extreme's new album 6 dropped on Friday. and it's phenomenal. It's a fantastic record, and they just knocked it out of the park, and it's doing very, very well. This has kind of been a resurgence in popularity for Extreme, which has been really, really great to see. The other story on here is a new David Lee Roth video called "Let's Take a Ride." I don't know if I want to click it though.
No. No, I don't think we're after last week's little excursion into David Lee Roth videos. Like, I'm gonna have to veto this. Like, maybe for the patrons later. But for now, no. I must say no.
Ivan, are you checking out the Dave re-release or like the solo recordings of the old classic Van Halen songs? He just did Atomic Park.
I am. These are the ones where he re-records the classic Van Halen material with his band. It was like the guys he was playing with right in the Vegas House of Blues right before that got cut short, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have listened to them. I'm not sure where to start with this, guys.
I hear you.
I mean,
that's a consensus around the board.
Like, let me start by saying that this is something I said before we went live, but I'm a person who thinks that every single song on the first 6 Van Halen albums is good or better than good. Okay, so like the David Lee Roth era Van Halen is literally my favorite band of all time. You ask someone their favorite band, They're like, well, I can't just pick one. That's an impossible question. It is not an impossible question for me. My favorite band of all time is David Lee Roth era Van Halen. So the only reason I'm saying all that is because it's going to be hard for me to say anything positive about those re-recordings.
I tell you what,
we have not said anything positive.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat here, the lurkers, and Ryan Powell said, David Lee Roth video for patrons? No, thanks. So maybe we won't play it.
It was fascinating to me that you were like, maybe the thing we'll do for our most devoted fans is the thing we don't want to do.
Good one, Mark.
Like the unpleasant thing that nobody wants to click on. That's what will give the deluxe people.
Yeah. Look, the joke's on you guys. Like, that was my secret all along. I was hoping the patrons would say, no, we're paying for this. And the answer is no. And like, you got it. You got to give the people what they want. As an aside, I would just...
Sorry, Scotty says, I'd rather listen to polka. And then Jeff Brewer said, well, DLR is pretty close to polka sometimes, and lately he kind of has been.
Fair point. I mean, can't argue against that.
I guess the one thing about those re-recordings that is like sort of interesting to me, because I don't enjoy them, but like sometimes when I don't enjoy something, I see if I can fall back on like, is there something interesting to think about here, even if I hate it? And he makes a big deal about how those are recorded live, no overdubs, which is a little bit weird to me because sometimes I feel like I actually am hearing some like pitch correction shit on the vocals and like it whatever. But he also makes a big deal. Everybody makes a big deal about how relatively live the original albums were too. Right. He talks about that in his autobiography a lot, about how like the original recording process was like very spontaneous, and like they didn't labor over getting perfect takes. They just kind of did what they did, their live set more or less. So like, according to him, I guess it just goes to show like how special the original lineup was, because if we take them at face value and the re-recordings are like, equally live or trying to follow the same kind of recording mindset, it just goes to show what a difference the vibe of the band makes, if that's all you're working with.
Sure. Right.
Yeah. Our big thing was why do this?
Yeah,
that's the point, because they're not available to purchase or anything. He doesn't have an album or anything coming out, and he seems to release them whenever somebody else in the Van Halen sphere does something cool. Right? It's like Wolfgang performs twice at the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert, gets all this great press. All of a sudden, David Lee Roth has a couple of videos out. Now we have Extreme. Gary Cherone, the album is doing fantastic. Here's another David Lee Roth video. It's kind of weird timing.
Yeah, I think you answered your own question there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think we even mentioned it before. This is Dave's way of staying on the island of relevancy. Yeah. And if there is a Van Halen sort of connection, any sort of connection that isn't about him, he's going to find a way to make it about him. Because,
yeah, I mean, there's a pettiness to it. There's just there's like a stark pettiness to that.
Yeah,
is sort of a bummer.
Yeah,
it is. But I mean, and for all of that, we still, and we still praise the guy for doing what he did, because he was such a he left such a mark on the rock and roll history, so to speak, and he's still around. That's not to say like he's like, oh, he's gone, he's not with us anymore. Like, no, he's with us. He's just, I don't know what he's doing. So it's better to kind of speak of his past triumphs.
I'm ready to do that.
There you go. And just as an aside, no apologies necessary, Gary. You're welcome for giving you the inspiration to make such a killer album with Extreme. That was all us giving you the drive and motivation, because we talked so much shit about Van Halen 3. For that, we apologize. But for your new album, not so much. Good job. So
you know what?
Moving right along. Yeah.
A couple of Van Halen touches on that one too. If you guys listen to the track "Beautiful Girls," it ends with a kiss.
Oh yeah,
just like Van Halen's "Beautiful Girls." It was kind of cool.
Yeah. Maybe that's Gary's way of just kind of not like a middle finger per se, but just sort of a remember I did that thing.
All right, Mark, what do you say?
Moving on along. Yeah. Let's go to the Twitter board real quick. All right. So as you mentioned, Corey, last week we did Girl Gone Bad. This one was kind of an interesting result. We had 87.1 What Dreams Are Made Of versus a 12.9% The Dream Is Over. I didn't really anticipate that it was going to be I don't know. I guess I kind of expected this one to be a little bit higher. So I'm a little surprised, even though I shouldn't be, because at this point, the poll results are just, they are what they are. But I am curious to know what people were saying about it. So before I get to the tweets, Ivan, do you have any thoughts, anything to say about the track Girl Gone Bad?
Oh, I totally do. Thank you for the opportunity to share them. To me, Girl Gone Bad is one of the handful of songs on 1984 that to me feels like a 5150 backing track, but with the Ted Templeman production and David Lee Roth singing over it. And by that, I mean, it's got this sort of like more progressive structure. It goes weirder places. The chorus is not like a Dance the Night Away obvious chorus. It's like sort of a complicated piece of music. You know, for me as a musician, if you gave me that, if like the Brothers, I'm flattering myself here, but if the Brothers handed me a cassette where they're like, we wrote the song, put the vocals over it, I would just shoot myself. I would be like, I don't know how to fucking, that's a pretty cool jam tape, but I do not know how to make a verse chorus baby out of that. And I feel like David Lee Roth sort of dumbed it down. And I mean that, in a cool way. I think he took it and he made it kind of relatable with that just classic Diamond Dave sleazy. It's like kind of a porn thing. It's just him. It has like the physical logic of David Lee Roth. He sort of brought the song down to that level. And I feel like one of the reasons why I don't like 5150 more is that I feel like Sammy Hagar sang well, but a lot of those songs don't have the like just vulgar, oh, I get what it's like, I get how it goes thing. There's a bunch, even though I've heard it a bazillion times, there's a lot of songs on 5150 where I'm like, how does that one go? Even if I know how it goes, I'm like, how does it go?
Yeah.
And Girl Gone Bad is like, there are songs on 1984 that are almost in that category. You know, House of Pain would be another one. Top Jimmy, like that song is like pretty fucking progressive and sorry, can I curse on this?
Oh, please fucking do. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. Like Top Jimmy is just like a fucking roller coaster ride of weird progressive shit, but we got Diamond Dave doing his yabba dabba do stuff. You can sort of focus on that and almost like not notice how like just, the rest of the song is like happening in the Terror Dome. So to me, Girl Gone Bad, like it's you can sort of see what 5150 would have been like if they had kept Dave.
Yeah, I see that point of view there. Nevertheless, so needless to say, you would have given this That's What Dreams Are Made Of, I would assume, on this one.
Correct.
So there you go. You would have been part of the 87%. So the others, I want to hear what is going on. I'm going to read some tweets, specifically some of our Patreons, because if you want your tweet guaranteed read on the show, join our Patreon. And just a quick little list of our Patreons. We got Matt Lacoste, Nate from the Deep Purple Podcast, Rava Flav, Josh, Greg Zito, Michael Griffith, Chaz Charles, Sean McGinnity at Meet the Geeks, Kevin Brown, Per Lineker, Scott Monroe, Ryan Powell, and Jeff Brewer. Thank you guys so much for your continuous support and encouragement. So, what in the world have you guys been saying about Girl Gone Bad? First tweet up from Sean Geek and Fast Fret Podcast. That's Sean McGinnity. He says, thanks, guys, for everything this week. He had a very rough week this past week, so our thoughts are with him. Let's change this to Girl Gone, bad. I see what you did there, Sean. Thank you. Appreciate the little humor there. I assume he upvoted that one, so there you go. From Ryan Powell, such an amazing scorcher of a song. Al's cymbal work is the impetus of this piece, and this is one of the best examples of Ed and Al in lockstep. 8 matches so far in the Van Halen song Showdown that Ryan Powell does, and it has an impressive 7-1 record for good reason. # what dreams are made of. Yeah, definitely go check out Ryan Powell's Van Halen song Showdown. Very fun, insightful stuff going on there.
Ryan, what did it lose to? I'm curious what it lost to.
Yeah.
I think Ryan's in the chat. Hopefully he can let us know what it lost to, because I don't recall offhand.
Yeah, I want to agree that the cymbal work on that song is like a highlight. That's a good call.
That's one thing I'm learning on this show is just how great Al was on cymbals. Like his cymbal work is phenomenal.
Yeah. That's my total 180 in this show so far has been thinking Al was always this meh drummer to go like, no, he's incredible, because just the shit he's doing that people don't even realize. So that's been a highlight.
It's like triggering for me to hear you even say that there was like a previous time where you thought.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, I understand you don't think that anymore, but it's like it's like traumatic for me to hear that you ever thought that.
Oh my God. Okay. Ryan Powell says it lost to once. You can't be serious.
It lost to once.
I think he's full of shit. There's no way.
He's trolling. He's being a troller. So I'm just going to ignore it. Kevin Brown, our buddy Kevin Brown, says instrumentally, this is top 20, maybe top 10 Van Halen, but holy crap, those are some weak lyrics. It doesn't come close to spoiling it because they're secondary and the melody is great. Superb track and an underappreciated gem off a killer album. So there you go. The lyrics weren't sitting well with Kevin there. I'm glad to hear that it's not just me kind of nitpicking lyrics, because sometimes it's just gotta happen. So moving forward, Josh says downvoters pronounce sword with a hard W. Okay. Sword? Is that how you pronounce that? I don't know what that means, but it's great. I like it. I'm into it. All right. And going down, Jeff Brewer says the dream is over. Lame music, lame dynamics, lame solo. Guitar sounds like it was played by a 2-year-old with a broken arm. No feel or imagination. Almost as bad as I'm the One. Sammy should have played the guitar parts on this one. No real Van Halen fan likes this song, and he's completely trolling in this tweet.
That was 100% satire.
Just to clear that up, 100% satire.
I got there by the end. But there was a while in the middle of that comment where I was just like, "What is happening?"
Me too.
Right
when I was reading it, I was doing the same thing. I'm like, "What the?" fuck?
I was like, "What is he doing?"
By the way, Ryan is 100% serious that he thinks Once is better than Girl Gone Bad. So I got to go back and read the manifesto, because I don't recall offhand. I remember it being very well thought out, but he thought Once was better than Girl Gone Bad. Ivan, would you put the track Once from Van Halen 3 over Girl Gone Bad?
The answer is no. I was talking before about how like sometimes something is so bad that like you sort of try to find something interesting about it. Right. To me, like Van Halen 3 is the ultimate work of art that is for that. Like the only way I can ever engage with Van Halen 3 is to wonder, like, how is it possible that it could be this bad? That's like the only way I can have any relationship with any part of that, including.
Look, you're preaching to the choir, because that's sort of the journey we've gone on with Van Halen 3 on this show. Is just it doesn't even, especially some of those tracks don't make sense to me how it's remotely the same. I mean, I know it's not the same band, but it's still the same core members, you know, like, and, but yeah, I mean, for some people dig it. Some people dug the reach, the sort of the artistic reach that they were going for, but again, not for me. So moving on here, Scott Monroe says #what dreams are made of, and one of my personal deep cuts, the live instrumental version from '83 bears out that it was conceived as a tight roller coaster jam session. I don't pay much attention to David Lee Roth's verses because I'm so tuned into the ferocity of the trio. He goes on to say, even so, the chorus harmonies on Girl are so sweet. The ending is indeed abrupt and maybe anticlimactic, but I view this song as an all-out sprint that, as it crosses the finish line, collapses in exhaustion from the intensity. Picture that with Al's final beats. Well, I am, and I agree. So good call there, Scott. And we love your little, that was kind of a mini manifesto, but good stuff. Greg Zito says, like Mark said, dynamics. I love how this song shifts from soft guitar to a rocket fueled jam. Absolutely. Van Halen is nothing if not dynamic with their music. We can say what we want about some choices, but they're utilizing all aspects of their musical spectrum that they have. So you got to give it to them for that. The Deep Purple podcast said, great track. One of their, dare I say, more proggy tunes. Would you agree with that, Corey? Would you say it's a little more on the proggy side?
You know what? I'm starting to get into prog. I'm doing a secret new podcast with Kevin Brown.
Of course you are.
It's my 4th podcast. We just started recording it, and we're covering a prog band. So I would agree with that, because now that I'm getting I was never really a big prog fan, so now I'm getting more into it. I could definitely see that. Ivan, would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, it's absolutely progressive. To me, it's also like a very sort of like an Eddie thing. Like, I feel like the further they got into the career, the more you would see those kinds of progressive Eddie Van Halen exploration tracks, you know, like especially like the 3 new songs they did with David Lee Roth for the Greatest Hits package. Remember those?
Yep.
Oh yeah. So I agree. They're like, this song I think is like the beginning of a new current in their career that had that kind of like Eddie Van Halen progressive thing.
And we talked about Jeff Brewer Street. He chimed in on the chat. That was actually, he stole those insults from Eddie himself. Ed said Jimmy Page live played like a 2-year-old with a broken arm, and he said Joe Perry lacked feel.
Joe Perry lacked feel. Well, that's.
Oh, at times, absolutely, I would agree with that.
I mean, sure.
I do an Aerosmith podcast, and at times I can absolutely agree with that. But
I read recently, you guys know about those, like, I think Steve Rosen interviews that are on YouTube? Like that guy who interviewed them, and he like started putting the unedited, like, you know, interview tape straight from his cassette onto YouTube. I've been listening to those, and there was one where Eddie Van Halen talks about during like the short amount of time where Van Halen was still opening for other bands, he talked about some of the guys who he thought were rude to him or were intimidated by him or were not nice to him when they were headlining. And he singled out Richie Blackmore and Joe Perry. So it's also possible that saying Joe Perry had no feel, I mean, that's not the craziest thing I've ever heard, but it might have been a little motivated also by some Eddie feeling like he'd been disrespected by Joe Perry specifically.
Yeah, listen to Toys in the Attic and Rocks, and it'd be hard to say Joe Perry has no feel, but
yeah, exactly. So nevertheless, though, so there you go. There's tweets made on the polls from our patrons. Thank you guys so much for being on our Patreon. And if you want your tweet guaranteed read in the polls, join our Patreon. We've got one. We've got a tier for you. I guarantee it. And if we don't, let us know. We'll find one for you. We'll make one. We're not above it. Corey is not exhausted at all from running the podcast sphere, so give him more shit to do.
Please, I forgot to let the patrons know that we're recording a day early. So last minute tonight, I'm like, oh, by the way, we're recording tonight.
Like, oh, right.
Yeah, 100% my fault, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, life happens, things happen. It's all good. You know what's about to happen now? Our favorite part of the show, right before we get to the main meat, we do take a drink, everyone. Manifestations. That's right. So we manifest what we want to bring forth to the show. What song do we want to talk about? Let's see. Corey, let's start with you. What song are you just itching for in what's left of the Van Halen repertoire that we have?
I'll tell you what, I was listening to the Tom Petty project that Ivan guested on, and they were talking a lot about his video for Listen to Her Heart. Really cool video. You can catch on his YouTube at Cyber Attack World. And I thought, what would be a cool cover for Ivan to do from Van Halen that kind of in the same vein? And I thought, Dance the Night Away. I think you do a pretty good job of that one, my friend. So I'm going to manifest that here tonight.
Thank you, man. I'm flattered. Thank you.
That is, I would be very, very interested in doing that song as well. So maybe the wheel will smile upon you. But we also have a couple of
that's true. Manifestations from the patrons.
Let's
Scott
do
Monroe,
the Discord.
Yes, Scott Monroe wants Pleasure Dome for Unlawful. So.
Of course he does.
Yep, and our good buddy Ryan Powell would love some feeling tonight. So he wants to go to Balance. That's kind of an interesting one.
I could talk about that.
Well, maybe it'll time, but until then, is that it for the Discord manifestation?
I believe it is. Yeah, we just had the two here tonight. Unless somebody in the chat wants to chime in with a last minute manifestation, I believe that's it.
Well, there you go. Chime on in if you want to, but I'm going to ask Ivan. Ivan, you mentioned to us off air, but go ahead and let the people know what song you are going to try and manifest and bring forth for tonight's show.
I said Secrets. I stand by it.
All right. The secret's out. He wants a Diver Down tune. So that leaves only me. And what in the world, we still haven't done one of my absolute favorite Van Halen songs and one of my absolute favorite vocal performances, at least on record, by Sammy Hagar. And I know it seems to be a theme. We're going to manifest Sammy with the exception of you two. But When It's Love, I just really want to hear just the rock and power ballad that I know that so many people that claim to be Van Halen fans absolutely can't stand. But I want to hear it because, again, I really dig what I hear. Not to tip my cap, but I've got things to say about it. So that is what I'm going to manifest for tonight's show.
I like that. I want that one. I'm changing my manifestation to that.
He's changing it. Put all your manifestation powers on When It's Love. There you go. Everyone work with him. And a special proxy manifestation from the other room on Amsterdam.
As always,
so, yeah. Always, for reasons.
Jeff Brewer, again, knowing much more about the band than either of us, actually says in the chat, at the time of Ed's insult, he was complaining that he went to shake Joe Perry's hand and he ignored him, which I can 100% see Joe Perry doing.
Yeah. I mean, Eddie Van Halen must have been just utterly terrifying to someone like Joe Perry, right? Because Joe Perry was just starting to be a rock star. He was like in that world. You think, he thinks he's safe. And then here comes this guy who's just like literally changing what the instrument means.
Yeah. Here comes this smiling Dutchman who's like just this virtuoso. Like, God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it must have just been like the worst possible. It's just like the shark fin comes out of the water right when you're like setting up your your beach towel. It's
Eddie Van Halen is Jaws.
I love it.
Eddie Van Halen is Jaws, and every other musician is just the people treading water in the middle of the ocean, just trying to make it.
Even guys like Jimmy Page and Joe Perry. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like Joe Perry. I think Joe Perry's a good guitar player, but like he was only good. Yeah. Yep. Like as good as he was like
not great, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
He is great. Like even if he is great, like he sounds like what guitar players sounded like in the 70s. Maybe he was like the best at that, but like he wasn't, you never heard like a Joe Perry guitar solo and be like, I don't understand what that was. And like Eddie Van Halen, everything he does is just like, I don't understand how that was possible. I mean, we understand now because decades have gone by, people studying it, but like, you know, Joe Perry didn't like reinvent anything. And then here's this kid who's just like intuitively reinventing shit right and left. It must have ruined his day. You know what I mean?
I mean, also, it probably didn't help that Eddie had a signature sound and tone to his playing, so that you absolutely know that's him when he's playing it, whether it's whatever tone effect he's using on his guitar or just the way he plays it, you know it's him. Joe Perry, if you told him to play a solo and it's like a blind reading or a blind listening taste test, if you will, I probably couldn't tell you that's Joe Perry based on the way he plays. And I've listened to a lot of Aerosmith. Corey, could you pick Joe Perry out of a lineup, just a blind tasting?
You know, because I do an Aerosmith podcast, I think I'd have a decent shot at it, but
you probably would. Yeah.
It would still kind of be,
if we're being generous. Yeah. If you're being generous, like you maybe could, but nevertheless, you know, still a good guitar player. Yes. But we're comparing him to Eddie. We're not even going to go there. So all that being said, I think it's time to spin that wheel. What do you say?
All right. Finally. Okay. I'm going to prime this sucker here because Ivan did a great video on Jump, and Jump has 4 letters. I'm going to shuffle it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I hear Sammy warming up. Here we go.
Here we go.
Look at this. Ivan called his shot. He got Secrets. Well done.
Very few people have been able to do it. It doesn't happen too often, but Corey's done it 3 times. I've done it once. So welcome to the club.
Right. Nice. I manifested that. Man, I don't think I've ever manifested anything in my whole life.
He pulled an Eric Sinich who called his shot on the first go. It was a Cabo Wabo, I believe.
I love that. Yep. I'm gonna start trying to manifest a lot more than I normally do. I don't really try to manifest that much shit, but after tonight, I'm gonna like wake up tomorrow and buy a lot of lottery tickets.
There you go. If you will it, it is no dream, as they say. Right. So there you go. Right. You got Secrets. Now you're ready to win the Powerball millions. You're well on your way.
Me and Theodore Herzl.
Yeah. So we're back into the Diver Down territory. The Covers album, as most people would call it, I would just call it a damn solid Van Halen record based on just our journey that we've taken. I don't understand why people would be not so hot on this album, other than the fact that I guess they just don't dig the covers. But I don't know, Corey, you and me so far, we've or at least we've always been. I've never felt angry at any of Van Halen's cover tunes. So that alone just makes this record stand out to me of being really good, because look what they can do with songs that don't belong to them.
Yeah, Diver Down is one of those weird albums. We're 6-0 on this record, and we still got a few tracks to go. The highest that we voted on here are actually our leading track right now in the voter poll, Little Guitars. 98.6%. What Dreams Are Made Of comes from this record. The lowest ranked song on here is Dancing in the Streets at 62.3%. Because we spun Secrets, that means we get to play Cathedral too.
Ooh, we do.
Nice.
We get a twofer, ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Ivan, you manifested this one. Why did you want to hear Secrets?
I mean, I liked it. It has to do with what you guys were just talking about, how like Diver Down gets some hate for being the covers album. Like you, I have no problem at all with the Van Halen covers. But Secrets, I think, is one of the songs that you can sort of use to defend Diver Down against the grumps who don't like the covers, because it's a pretty unusual song. There are not really many David Lee Roth era songs that sound like this one. It's got a different vibe. The tone is very different. Eddie's using a 12-string guitar on it. It just sort of sits in this unique place in terms of the vibe and the energy. And so I feel like even if you don't like the covers, Diver Down is the home of this song, and I feel like you gotta make a special place in your heart for this song. So I feel like this is one of the anchors of Diver Down as an album.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Well said.
Absolutely agree.
Yep. What do you say? Before we get into secrets, let's play Cathedral here in its entireties. I always kind of dug Cathedral.
If this is your entrance into the Church of Rock and Roll, then sign me up. That's how that works. And it's nothing too crazy. Nothing. It's not Eruption. It's not trying to be Eruption or anything like that. It's just this cool little interlude to lead you into something else. And I dig that. I like when Eddie is experimental in this way, not so much how many say I way, but I like the interlude. I'm a big fan of Van Halen interludes. Is what I'm trying to say.
Dude, you just nailed we have to pause. We have to pause right there because I love that you just used how many say I. That song is so bewildering and
that's a word for it.
And just unpleasant that the best use of it, the best you could possibly do with that song is to sort of use it as a benchmark. You know what I mean? It's which is what you did. Best. I've been wondering since I heard that song the first time, I've been wondering my whole life, what the fuck am I ever going to do with that song? And you gave me the answer. It can be useful as at least we're not that in the range of things Eddie Van Halen does that are kind of weird. One end of this range is how many say I love that you gave that song a valuable use in the world.
Well, I'll tell you, Ivan, you can hear us all discuss it at length how we felt about that track with the episode of How Many Say I. So if it tickles your fancy to hear what all we had to say, and you can hear it in real time, real reaction.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check it out.
That's but enough of that. So there you go.
Can I just say one last thing about Cathedral?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I've been feeling a little bit bad since we talked about Joe Perry. I just feel a little bit guilty that I sort of talk trash about Joe Perry because I do like Joe Perry and I do like Aerosmith, and I just feel guilty because I'm a musician and he's a musician and we're all just trying to find the good notes and what did Joe Perry ever do? I've just been feeling bad for the last 10 minutes since we talked about him. But I do just want to say that Cathedral is an example of what you never are gonna get from Joe Perry. And I don't really think I'm talking shit here.
Right.
Joe Perry's cool. I could say a lot of the things he does that I love, but there's just unusualness and what the fuck is that and how is the guitar making those sounds and what's happening. There's just a level of originality and how on earth did he make it do that you get from Cathedral that I don't think is ever present in Joe Perry's guitar playing, despite the fact that there are many aspects of Joe Perry's guitar playing that I admire.
Well, Joe Perry never took the volume knob and made it an instrument onto itself, like Eddie did in Cathedral there, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But
that and just that Joe Perry musically, I would say guitar play, and that's no shade again to Aerosmith. They've got some incredible hits, some incredible songs, but musically not as ambitious as Eddie in terms of guitar playing. So to your point, you're correct. You would never hear something like Cathedral come out of Joe Perry because he sticks to the wheelhouse that he knows and he's good at. He's good at his wheelhouse, but that's it. Like he's not gonna venture out too far away. Whereas Eddie, he's like nothing is off limits. I'm trying it. They've got a damn an interlude song. Is it Spanish Fly where he plays the classical guitar just because he wanted to, just like I'm gonna try this. Let me fiddle around with it a little bit, and he created that incredible stuff. Ambition. Joe Perry with his guitar playing again. Wrote some good songs, but not in the same league in terms of musical ambition. So, yes, I agree. You will not hear something like Cathedral there. So
yeah, I mean, maybe just to be fair, we should also point out that I've never heard Joe Perry do anything that made me feel the way How Many Say I made me feel.
That's a fair assessment.
That is a fair. I'll give you that. And I just clicked over to the YouTube chat, and Ryan Powell pointed out that he says I stole his line. I wasn't looking at the chat when I said that, Ryan, but he actually pointed out as well that it's a great use of the volume knob as an instrument that Eddie was doing there. I was looking up the quote on that one. Eddie was saying that. Sometimes the when you go back and forth on the volume knob, it would freeze and just kind of cut out. It only took like a couple of takes to get Cathedral down. On the second take, the volume knob just froze when he was playing with it. So I was kind of going off that. Sorry, Ryan. I'll definitely give you some royalties. Ryan, Mark is going to send you a check, and I'm sure it'll be quite hefty.
That's pretty cool that this is a podcast you can make money by listening to.
In the subheading in the check, it'll say apologies to Joe Perry, who's an active listener. Obviously, he listens to the show regularly.
I do an Aerosmith podcast. I'm gonna have to answer for this.
That's true. You do. Yeah, you're gonna. Joe, oh man, yeah, Joe's coming so hard at you. You just wait for it. But until that time. Now we've gone through Cathedral, we should naturally just progress into Secrets.
Absolutely. From Diver Down way back in 1982, here's Secrets.
She gets older, her feet are making tracks in the winter snows. She got a rainbow that touches her shoulder. She be headed where the thunder rolls.
So Eddie was kind of ragging on Jimmy Page there, but I found a quote here where he said that for Secrets, he actually used Gibson double deck 12 string, the same model that Jimmy Page used.
Go figure.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that he said, I think it was one of those like Steve Rosen YouTube interviews. He said he recorded it with that, but then he didn't want to perform with that because it looks too much like a Jimmy Page thing. And so he got this Kramer double neck. He used it on the US Festival. It's like yellow. It's like his own thing. So that it didn't, so that people would stop saying like, oh, you're using the Stairway to Heaven guitar or whatever.
Yeah. But pretty kicking little beginning there. Dave sounded great. I love the little bass line that was going on there.
Oh yeah, it's super cool.
Nice Alex Van
Halen cymbal work is in full force. You can hear that swing. I think Van Halen was probably like the swingingest hard rock band of their time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Swing for days.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it rocking here.
She got that rhythm of the road. She get crazy, woman get crazy, she can't go. She just looking good. She comes like the secret wind.
And once again, we have Dave utilizing that bluesiness that he does so well and so I mean, a lot. He does it a lot. And for a song like this, just musically speaking and how it's structured, it absolutely fits. And I don't know, the more we keep going into Dave-isms, this is one that seems like he is the most comfortable when he's kind of letting the blues sort of influence show. And Eddie does it too. But just vocally speaking, when Dave can utilize that whole thing, it really does kind of bring it all together in a very satisfying way. The song's not even over with yet, and already I'm like, yeah, see, I this is a good groove. Like everything's coming together quite well. And when Van Halen's on like that, they're just on.
Now, I read a quote that Eddie actually wanted to put this on Fair Warning. This is a pretty kind of quiet, restrained song. Do you think it would have fit on Fair Warning, or is it better suited on Diver Down?
That's a good question, because, like, I get no. I think it's better suited here. I could see why, maybe, or where you could like squeeze it in. Like maybe you squeeze it in after or before Center Swing or something, just to give it give that track like a real boost. But I don't know. I think it kind of disrupts the flow that we know. I think it works better on this album.
I agree, but I do think it's weird the way Fair Warning is weird.
I mean, that's why I hesitated, because it's
right.
Like I could see why. Yeah.
And where you put it, Mark, I think it would have fit pretty well actually between Dirty Movies and Center Swing. Yeah, that would have been
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. I think we're all having the same thought. I mean, Fair Warning is like sort of menacing and furious as an album in a way that this song is not. But there's a lot of sort of like, oh, I didn't know Van Halen could do that moments on Fair Warning. Push comes to shove, 1 foot out the door. There's songs where it's like, oh, I've never heard them do something like that. And this song is sort of like one of those in a softer way. So in that sense, I feel like it was coming from a similar place where Eddie Van Halen was just like wanted to try something they hadn't tried yet,
Yeah, and Ryan Powell in the chat pointed out that "So This Is Love" fit on Fair Warning, so absolutely, yeah, that's
and again that was another reason for my hesitation, because I thought about that one too, and it's just maybe if they like restructured, put this after This Is Love, and then like go right into Center Swing, maybe, I don't know. Certainly, if you put this at the end of the album, you've just ruined the flow entirely, because how are you going to follow up Unchained?
I like where you put it, though, between Dirty Movies and Center Swing. I could see it fitting there. I thought that was pretty good sequencing.
But nevertheless, I like it on Diver Down. Yeah, no,
absolutely.
Strong as the mountains, walks tall as the trees. She's been there before, she'll never give in. She'll be gone tomorrow like the silent breeze. Ow, 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 she got rhythm, got that rhythm of the road. Ow, 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 she get crazy, she can't go. But she just looking good.
Now you expect like going into a chorus or something like a big Van Halen moment, right, with a big vocal performance, or Alex just kind of really kicking it in. You don't get that on this song. You just got to keep that same kicking, swing, and groove. It's kind of cool.
Nope. It's
the restraint.
It's that blues riff, man. Yeah, it's like you don't get like big choruses in a lot of
it's very Joe Perry
styles, it bringing it full circle. How very Joe Perry. That's the irony of this episode. Hashtag the Joe Perry conspiracy.
All right, let's keep going.
Sometimes you got to run. You running blind, but you jump the gun.
Do you like that little change up Alex did in that little little nuances like that, man. I that is so far, it's been my favorite thing about this show, other than interacting with all you wonderful people out there, of course, but just the rediscovery and the new love or new appreciation for what Alex Van Halen is doing in these songs. It's extraordinary.
It doesn't have to all be Hot for Teacher pyrotechnics, right? It could just
no, it doesn't.
A killer groove like that, and he knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, I'm also loving. There's a lot of really, really cool little Michael Anthony bass moves in this song. You know, right where it's like at the end of the verse to get into the chorus, he'll do those ba-doo ba-doo ba-boo, and it's just something so like rhythmically hip about his feel there, and like how you can see that it was spontaneous, and he just nails it, and he just did it, and they weren't licks, he just was feeling it as he went. You know, him and the drummer on this, I think, are just like manifesting. They were the original manifestors.
Perhaps so.
Question is not does love exist, but when she leaves, where she goes. I got the feeling she don't know either. Wait like the wind, watch where she blows.
All right, Mark, what your thoughts on the guitar solo?
My only thought is when Eddie's done, I had this vision of him putting that guitar down while it's still ringing, you know, grabbing another one and continuing the song. And while the other guitar, the solo guitar is still ringing, you just someone puts a cigarette like up in the strings, like by the tuning knobs, kind of like where Eddie used to hold his, and just like give the guitar a smoke break, because holy shit, that was fire.
Yeah, good stuff. I thought I read something on this is like take two, I think, for Eddie. He just kind of some of his best solos were just like, spontaneous, right? Just, oh, there we go, done. And I believe this was take two. I'm sure somebody, Ryan Powell, I'm looking at you, can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I thought this was a take two on that solo.
Maybe he wanted to add to it. Maybe that last little bit, like the last, let's say, 10 to 16 bars of that solo, maybe that was an add-on. He's just like, you know what, let me try this again. I think I can make this better. And like maybe did the majority of what he did in the first take, and then decided add on to it, because I don't know, something about that last little bit sounded not out of place, but it just sounded like almost like it was not meant for the song originally, but Eddie made it work, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Like it doesn't sound like a bad splicing job from a production standpoint at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it sounds like he had an idea for the solo, decided I can make that idea better, but I don't want to lose what I just did. So let's just add this little thing on top of it to give it more flavor, and makes it work. But again, all speculation. I have no clue.
Well, and I found the quote here. It was actually the first take. So,
oh, well, then fuck me, right?
I do wonder sometimes, like, in this case, it was the first take, but I wonder, like, if it had been the second take, how different are the two takes? Like, is he doing multiple takes, or each one is just completely improvised and they're completely different? Or is it that he has some sense of this is how the solo is going to go, and he's just trying to get a performance that he think executes the idea really well? And the reason I wonder about this is because live, he stays pretty close to the solos on the record. He embellishes them, but it's like, if you know how the solo goes on the record and you see him do it live, he's basically doing a rendition of it. And if these solos in the studio that we all know and love, and that he then ended up playing over and over again live, if they were kind of just like improvised from nothing on take 1, improvised from nothing on take 2. If he was improvising this much mind-blowingly good stuff, there's a part of me who would almost want him to improvise more on the live shows. Like, if these are what improvised Eddie Van Halen solos sound like, I wouldn't mind hearing new improvised shit that's different at the live show if this is what we get when he improvises. Just something I wonder as a fan.
Unfortunately, I never had and never will get the chance to see them live. For all I know, maybe he did do that on occasion, not every live show, but maybe on occasion he did. Someone else is going to have to, fact check me on that one. But I agree with you. I think Eddie just kind of having like a little riff jam off with himself, a solo, if you will, for the glory of the crowd, would have been absolutely stunning. And who better, right? Who better to do that for their live show? I can understand why he wouldn't do that though, because that would get a bit tired, I think, or maybe he was just like, I don't know what to play tonight. I'm just playing the songs. Okay. I'm
not complaining. It's just sort of
right.
It's like when you've listened to Van Halen as much as I have, you have to like give yourself new things to think about. And so like, that's kind of new thing I think about for the sake of having a new thought, because I'm just listening to the same songs for the bazillionth time.
All valid.
That sweet rhythm of the road. She get crazy. Woman get crazy, yeah, she can go. I'm looking good. Oh, yes.
All right, that's Secrets from Diver Down. One thing we didn't talk about was the lyrics, and I remember Dave saying that the lyrics came from greeting cards and get well cards that he bought in New Mexico on the previous tour. Specifically lines like, "May your moccasins leave happy tracks in the summer snows."
Yeah, and I think I read on the news desk that originally this had a different title. It was Looking Good.
Looking Good, yep.
And and they changed it to Secrets, I guess, because of just how Dave felt about the cards. And I don't know, maybe something about that line about the moccasins in the snow. I don't know why, because I'm thinking like, well, what's the secret here? It was like, I guess he keeps referring to a she. I guess she has the secret. She's like the secret win. It's like, okay, what's her secret though? I guess that's the secret. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
She's just got a secret. She knows it. And you know that she's got it. That's it.
I like the title is not like one of the lyrics, really. You know, there are not many Van Halen songs where the title is not just like the big line from the chorus or something. This might be the only one of this era. And I like that. And I like that you don't know what's going on, that it's mysterious in the way you're talking about. You know, I do think that Van Halen sometimes was like deceptively vulgar, or like was deceptively like, we're going to write this song that's just about what you think it is. And we're going to operate just on this sort of like crotch level as a rock band. And I like that. I like stuff that is just like that sort of defiantly and forcefully like raunchy and cool.
So what I'm hearing is you're a big fan of the track Up for Breakfast. You heard it here, folks.
Well,
we found our one fan.
You know, one of the things that I wish Up for Breakfast had going for it was sort of this like secondary layer of like mystique that I think David Lee Roth
could have helped.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I feel like Secrets is like a glimpse of the level they were always hiding behind their other songs. It's like they would give you the song you thought you knew, and then back behind it there would be these like subtleties and these sort of other surprising choices that David Lee Roth would make, and it would be sort of these like hidden layers. And then Secrets is the song where they were like, we're just going to show you the hidden layer now, and we're not going to normally this is hidden, it's not hidden this time. And I sort of like the song just as being a glimpse of that. I think it's cool.
That's a good point. Good point indeed. So there you are, Secrets. So now we come to the last bit of the show where we vote on it. We decide whether the song is What Dreams Are Made Of or Was the Dream Over? Ooh, yeah. Ivan, since you are our honored guest, the first vote befalls upon you. So pretty sure we know how this is going to go, but we'll just ask it anyway. Is it What Dreams Are Made Of or is the dream over? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel like I've already told you guys how I feel about it. You know what I mean?
That's fine.
I think it's a no-brainer. I think the song is amazing. I think the guitar playing is mind-blowing, literally mind-blowing. I guess maybe one last thing I'll say about it is I do think David Lee Roth was very good at taking his influences and then turning them into something you wouldn't expect. Like, he got these greeting cards from the Southwest that were a little out there. You know, a lot of people would look at something like that and then they would go to the obvious choice. They do some sort of like, you know, let's make it sound like the Southwest. Let's make it sound like, you know, the culture of that or whatever. They'd like try to do the Sunset and the Coyotes and the whatever. I feel like David Lee Roth always takes a turn past it. You don't exactly know where he got it, the way he was incorporating martial arts and skateboard culture and blaxploitation movies and the comic books of the 60s and R. Crumb. He would take it and then change it into something you don't know necessarily where he got it from. The fact that this song was inspired by those greeting cards, I think, is an example of that. And I also think it's something that Sammy Hagar was not as good at. I don't want to flip anybody out, so I'll say that in many ways, Sammy Hagar was just a superior vocalist, and his voice aged much better, and he could sort of just
there it is.
You know, it's like I feel like there's shit Sammy Hagar didn't even have to get good at because he was already good at singing.
I agree.
That's kind of what I meant when I said like he did a little with a lot, whereas David Lee Roth, like. He can't just sort of soar over the song and sort of just get by on the sheer vocal talent. So he's got to sort of use his dirty tricks. And one of his dirty tricks is that he would find inspiration in an unusual place and do something with it that was very original. And I think this song is an example of that. One of the better examples of it because it's an unusual Van Halen song. So for me, I mean, it's just like... You know, it's a no-brainer. This is a thumbs up. I mean, I think that's just like I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't like this song. I would have a completely different personality, and I would be disgusting to myself.
Well, there you go. You've made the Rothers out there very, very happy. So, do we continue with that streak with Corey Morset? Corey, do you think Secrets are What Dreams Are Made Of, or is the secret that you actually think the dream is over?
Oh, God!
Yeah, I can't say it as nice as Ivan did or anything, but this is absolutely what dreams are made of. I love the restraint shown in this song. Like I said, usually in a big Van Halen chorus, you get a big chorus, right? You don't get that here. You just get just kind of that nice groove going. Even Alex, and I always love talking underneath Eddie solos. Alex likes doing some crazy shit to show little brother that he's still there, right? And he kind of started that. He had some cool cymbal stuff at the beginning of the solo, then he stopped it and just played the groove while Eddie laid that great solo over top. I love that. Absolutely a fantastic track, a standout on Diver Down, which, you know, coming into this show, I was thinking, Diver Down's kind of an iffy album for me. I've uploaded every song, and here's another one. I'm really appreciating Diver Down for what it is. Thanks to this little experiment we're doing here, and it's absolutely for me what dreams are made of. So that just leaves Mark Meyer, the grumpy one, the contrarian, the one who every once in a while likes to throw a monkey wrench into things. Almost downvoted Girl Gone Bad. People still can't believe it. You can't believe it performed so poorly in the polls, yet you almost downvoted it yourself. What say you, sir? Is this what dreams are made of, or is the dream over?
But here's the thing, just to sort of double up on getting everyone all riled up about my decision-making process. If you had asked me the same question last year, maybe, or maybe a little bit, let's say a few years. If you'd asked me a few years ago, would I have upvoted this song? I probably would have said, not really. No, just kind of, it doesn't really do it for me. However, we have grown over time, and we grow, we evolve. Sometimes our music tastes change for the better. Sometimes we just give ourselves a new perspective. So while I am upvoting this one, it was very close to my instinct almost said, I don't know that I'm digging that. However, the further the song got on, the further we were just sort of listening to it and vibing to it, the more I realized, oh, that's what this song is. This is just a Van Halen jam. It's a jam. It's essentially a jam session, just not as long from your typical jam session. But that's what I felt like listening to this song. I felt like lounging, like I'm lounging with a J, just hanging out, listening to good rock and roll, good it speaks to my old school blues sensibilities as well. That's why I bring it up every time that David utilizes it really well, because it stands out, but it makes the band just sound that much better. It doesn't all have to be super arena rock, explosion flips and howls in your face all the time, or electric guitar squeals, though we are appreciative of that. And though we didn't get a squeal, but we got some pretty rip-roaring solos. So you get, pardon the pun, the best of both worlds in that regard. And because of all of that, and because of everything you guys have said and what we've already been saying throughout the show, tonight, it is absolutely what dreams are made of. If you had asked me a few years ago, though, I probably would have said, nah, it's a little, just not feeling it. But thank God we're not doing the show a few years ago. We're doing the show now. And there you go. Clean sweep all around. Good stuff. And good stuff for Diver Down. Every time, it feels like every time we do a track from Diver Down, Corey, we, or at least I do, have this sort of profound realization that, like, I mentioned it at the top of the show, I don't get why everyone seems to think this album's no good. There's nothing bad we've covered so far on this album.
Yeah, we're both 7-0 on Diver Down, but that just begs one more question. That music can only mean one thing. We didn't even talk to Ivan about this before the show, but Ivan, we'd like to play a little game, and that is, how many times did Van Halen perform Secrets live in concert?
Ooh.
And you're hearing the Price is Right music, because we do this with Price is Right rules. You have to get closest to the actual number without going over. So let's start with Mark Kmeyer. Mark.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I know you guys don't have a good answer to this. This is how many times they played it based on like just set lists of all their shows that have been compiled by fans online and stuff like that.
Yes, setlist.fm is our source for this. How many times they've compiled that Van Halen performed Secrets live.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So Mark Kmeyer, how many times do you think Van Halen performed Secrets?
Well, the cat's telling me one thing, but I think she's out of her mind, so I'm not going to listen to the cat. Secrets, part of me really doesn't believe they played this song all that much, but I've been wrong before, so I'm going to be generous, and I'll say they played it 10 times.
10 times only. Okay, so Ivan, Price is Right rules. You have to get closest to the actual number without going over. How many times do you think Van Halen performed Secrets?
Okay. I know they played it at US Festival, which makes me think that it was in their set for like the tour they did that year. I don't think they ever played it on any other tour. I think they only played it on the tour of like whatever US Festival was, 1982, I think. So I guess my question is, like, how many shows did they play that year, and did they play Secrets at every show that year? I don't know. I'm going to say, I feel like they did hundreds of shows that year, but did they play Secrets every time? Maybe they played it every other show. I'm going to say 50.
50. All right. We have a winner, and it's our guest, Ivan Anderson. The correct answer is 99 times.
Ooh, I wanted to say 100. I almost said 100.
Wow.
You know what? It's appropriate. The night that the Las Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup, it's the Wayne Gretzky of numbers, 99. And actually, the last time they ever played it, according to Setlist.fm, was at the Yes Festival in 1983.
Just so I understand, according to Price is Right rules, if I had said 100 and been off by 1, I would have lost.
You would have lost. Absolutely. Yep.
I don't feel like I deserve this win.
Well, you know what? Anyway,
me,
Mark's going to be sending you a check.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Mark will send you some lovely prizes.
I'll send you some Perry dollars. Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually kind of surprised. They played it in 84 times, in 1983, 15 times. So just that tour. And the last time they ever played it, according to Setlist.fm, was the US Festival in 1983.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So my reasoning was right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You were 100% right. Yep. Just that tour.
All right.
Well, there you go. So, it's the favorite game that Mark just he utilizes his guessing powers and most of the time just comes up short. But that's just how we do. You don't come for the show. You don't come to the show just to hear me lose on a game that Corey just like made up on the spot one day. You come here for the Van Halen talk. And if you do come here for that Price is Right game, then all right, that's a choice. Thank you for listening to that. I guess I don't know. Maybe there's like a small club of people who's like, we love when Mark is wrong or when he just looks like a buffoon. And this game is perfect for both of those.
I'm a fan of Mark as a buffoon, so yeah.
You and Mariano, I'm sure there's a lot of people. We probably have patrons that love that, and if you do, that's cool. I'll keep doing it. You paid for it, so there you go. That's it, man. We another show down, another song off of the wheel. We are coming close. We still got a few for Diver Down, so that be looking forward to that. Be looking forward to some awesome Van Halen stuff. We're still not done. We're still going strong. So don't give up on us yet. Don't be sad just yet. We've got quite a hill to climb. I want to send a big shout out, big thank you to our guest, Ivan Anderson. Ivan, please let the people know where they can find you. Tell them about your YouTube page. Tell them everything you want to plug. Thank you for being on the show.
It was my pleasure. I love being on the show. Being on the show is my favorite thing I've ever done in my life. So where people can find me, I record under the name Cyber Attack. That's like the name of my band. I have a YouTube channel called Cyber Attack. If you just look up Ivan Anderson Cyber Attack, you'll find it. That Van Halen video where I talk about Jump is there. I also release original music as Cyber Attack. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. It's on everywhere. It's all under the name Cyber Attack. That's it. If you like Van Halen, I think you'll like it. If you like listening to me be a geek with these two geeks, you'll definitely like it. I like to think of it as like the music that a geek would make if they were also trying to be sort of like shreddy and hostile.
Well, you're speaking to my geek heart on that one. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. Please do yourselves a favor. Check that out, especially that Jump video, the analyzation of Jump, if you will. Quite fun and intriguing stuff. And we appreciate that you made it. We appreciate you being on the show once again. Corey, as always a pleasure. Please let the people know where they can find everything that we do and where they can go to find like-minded podcasts that you host.
Oh, yes. I'm slowly taking over. We've actually dubbed it the Corey Morissette Podcast Universe, the CMPU, and I only okayed it because it sounds like I stink. The CMPU, coming soon to a podcast player near you. But of course, you can find us at www.podcastwillrock.com. You can get some merch. Catch up on old shows, find our friends like Ivan and the like. Become a patron even. We're on Patreon. Find a tier that's right for you. And if we don't have one, hell, we'll create one for you. We just love like-minded people coming on. One of my favorite things, I don't get to post on it a lot because I've been busy with work, but the Discord server, everyone's on there talking Van Halen, talking great music. It's all great people. I would recommend everybody check that out. And that's available at our lowest tier. You can join the Discord server and join the conversation. And as always, we're honored to be part of the Deep Dive Podcast Network, which includes such great shows as Backtracks Aerosmith Revisited, myself, John Mariano, and Scott Haskin, breaking down all things Aerosmith. John and myself also do a show called Backtracks Theme Music, where we're breaking down our favorite songs from our favorite movies. Scott Haskin also does the Uriah Heep Show, the Magicians Podcast. Nate and John at the Deep Purple Podcast. The Simple Man at Skinner Reconsidered. Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side. Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast. Paul, Joe, and David at In the Lap of the Pods. That's All Things Queen. Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge. Eric and Jonathan at Maiden A to Z. Daniel and Josh at Diary of the Madmen, the Ultimate Aussie Podcast, back from a hiatus. Great to have them back recording new episodes. Ben and Sam at Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Podcast. George and Hattie at the Judas Priest Cast. Check them out all month long for Pride Month. They're doing some fantastic stuff over there. Clay and Rye at North by South Podcast. Greg and Jonathan at So Far, So Pod, So What, talking all things Megadeth. Our good buddy Kevin Brown at the Tom Petty Project, and with his friend Randy Woods, they do a Queen show called Seaside Pod Review. Quinn at End Volume for All. Savnik, Steve, and Mark at the Rock Roulette Podcast. Rumor has it they may be appearing on our show, and vice versa. Mark, if you could find some time in your schedule, maybe we'll go spin the wheel on the Rock Roulette Podcast. I'm looking forward to that. And finally, of course, Chaz and Greg at Regarding Lulu. And of course, I have to mention our good friends, the Sean Geek and Fast Rare Podcast, You're All Doomed, a Friday the 13th podcast, the DLR Cast, the Bogus Oda Show, Pod of Thunder, the recognized symbol of excellence in rock and roll podcasting, Booked on Rock with the legendary Eric Senich, Dissect That Film, and Three's Company 2, a rewatch podcast.
Fun stuff. Thank you, Corey. Find me at Mark the Bat on Twitter and Instagram, where I just talk about nonsense most of the time, mostly of how upset I am with the status of my state, but I try to get around that. And every once in a while I bitch about nerdy things. And then every once in a while I talk about the things I'm doing musically, like this month, June 24th, the Welcome to the Apocalypse 2023 show. I joined the stage with local veterans Voodoo Prophet for some guest vocals, some good jams, and then my band Rose of Sharon, a tribute to Killswitch Engage, takes the stage. We share it with Vulgar Display of Nashville, a Pantera tribute, and we start the evening with a showcase of local fan favorites like Sidewinder, Cadence, Blackwood, and Summon the Moon. It's going to be a good show, all going towards the Music City Hero Coalition, so it's for charity. It's going to be for a great cause. It's going to be a really, really fun show. Voodoo Prophet's a heavy band in Nashville in the last 10 years that really made an impact, but not a national impact. And who knows, maybe that will change with a little help from some friends. Who knows? But if you want to come see me scream my guts out in people's faces on stage, come to the show at the Exit Inn if you are in the Nashville, Tennessee area. Exit Inn, June 24th. Come check it out. It's going to be a riot. So on behalf of Ivan Anderson, Corey Morissette, and myself, we are And the Podcast Will Rock, and we will rock you later.